Rich Dad Poor Dad is Robert Kiyosaki's best-selling book about the difference in mindset between the poor, middle class, and rich. In this Rich Dad Poor Dad book summary, we will break down some of the best lessons Kiyosaki shares to help you become more financially literate. So, let's dive in. Rich Dad's Lesson 1: The rich don't work for money. In today's world, there's never been a more significant divide between the rich and all other income classes. Some economists in California even noticed that about 95% of income gains between 2009 to 2012 went to the wealthiest people in the world, the 1%. Thus, showing that the biggest increases in income go to entrepreneurs and investors, not employees. Rich Dad Lesson: Savers are losers. The emphasis on saving is only found in the poor and middle class. However, the reason why savers are losers is that since 2000 there have been 3 massive stock market crashes. Dot-com crash, 2000. Real estate crash, 2007. Banking crash, 2008. The first 3 crashes of the 21st century pale in comparison to the Great Crash of 1929. When you look at the data visually, you can see how big of an impact the crashes were. Notably, after each stock market crash, the American government and the Federal Reserve Bank started printing money. Today's interest rates are relatively close to zero, which is what makes savers losers. And the biggest savers are the poor and middle class. Rich Dad Lesson: Your house is not an asset. When Robert Kiyosaki first published Rich Dad, Poor Dad in 1997, every publisher who had rejected his book had criticized the lesson regarding a person's house not being an asset. Historically, people believed that your home was the biggest investment you can make. However, it wasn't until 2007 when subprime borrowers began to default on their subprime mortgages that people realized that a house wasn't an asset. The real estate crash was caused by the rich, not the poor. The rich created financially engineered products known as derivatives. Even Warren Buffett hated these, calling them weapons of mass financial destruction. The derivatives were the cause of the housing market collapse. Yet, somehow, the poor were blamed even though there were approximately $700 trillion in financial derivatives. Believe it or not, but that number has since exploded to $1.20 quadrillion in financial derivatives. Rich Dad Lesson: Why the rich pay less in taxes. Poor people often get angry when they learn rich people pay less in taxes. Instead, they should focus on learning from the rich as they pay fewer taxes legally. The poor and middle class will always pay more taxes than the rich. This statement is true because it'll always be the person who works for money who gets taxed the most. When presidents promise to raise taxes on the rich, they typically mean the middle class, not the real rich.